2. 1, 2, 3.
Are you ready, America? It's time for another edition of Game On with your host, Stevie Ray Braun and Brad Bad News Bollinger. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Game On. Talking about your favorite sports and different parts of life. Might even get a little take on Lane Kiffin's wife. They tell you what they think and not afraid to take a stance. They'll give you the number of pleats in Charlie Weiss's pants. They're the game on guys, see sports through their eyes. Political correctness just up and dies when they give you their views on any sport you want to hear. They're the game on guys, eating fries, drinking beer.
That's right, it is Game On. Steve Ron, Brad Bollinger. French fries sound really good right now, I'll be honest. Actually, like something sweet sounds really good right now.
What kind of sweet guy are you?
Chocolate? Like
Yeah.
any kind
That's exotic.
will work. Swiss rolls, Hostess Swiss rolls.
Yeah.
Those are kind of my
Are
kryptonite.
you into baked goods?
Baked goods? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I get trouble with that too, like pastries, donuts.
Yes,
Cake.
donuts. Yeah.
I mean,
Cake,
everything.
cupcakes. Yeah.
I'll eat everything and enjoy it, but
Yeah.
I think I don't know. I think the baked goods have taken over my life recently.
Yeah.
I mean, I still will have candy and like the Starbursts and the Skittles from time to time and chocolate, obviously. But man, if
Are
I
you
can
Are you an ice cream guy?
yeah, I'm
Okay.
everything.
Yeah.
I'm always like, do you ever get annoyed with people who are like, oh, I don't like sweets?
Yeah, my brother is that way. He's
Isn't
like,
that
I don't really
weird?
do sweets. And I'm like, what?
Can you imagine
We came from the same home. How do you
yeah,
not?
they made a whole movie about a chocolate factory because people love chocolate and sweets, and they went crazy in that factory. They lost their lives
They
for
did.
that factory, and I would too. But some people are like, "Nah, I don't really care for sweets." I'm like, I don't know. I don't think I can get along with those type of people.
Usually I'm like,
Oh, good for you.
yeah. Like, oh, okay. You want to talk about how you also are vegetarian or
Yeah,
allergic to peanuts or
you want to talk about where you hide the
CrossFit?
dead bodies, you psychopath?
Oh, you do CrossFit too? Oh, I couldn't imagine. No offense to our
bet you
CrossFit
do.
listeners, because you CrossFit people could kick my butt, but hey,
Yeah,
Brats-
they're still weird.
there's a Bratzler listening. Please don't come
Yeah.
after me. Right?
Yeah, a couple of them.
Couple of them.
Yep.
Either one.
It's a husband-wife duo.
Yeah.
And they always I mean, they're fantastic people, and I love
love
that
them to death.
they
Yeah.
have something that they really love doing, but they post the stuff, and I'm like, damn, like you are just making me feel bad because it's
Agreed.
like they're both doing like the aggressive pull-up.
Oh,
Everything
yeah.
in CrossFit's aggressive. It's just like normal exercises, but it's like CrossFit. It's like let's make it freaking aggressive, and like let's throw some rope and like spin a tire and all this crazy stuff. And it looks intense. I don't know how effective it is, but it seemed to be in good shape. So I guess it works. I'm not going to find out, but
I'm sitting there scrolling on Instagram, seeing that, and I'm like, should I go eat another donut?
yeah.
Should I
Just
get a
where-
second help? Should I get 2 more pieces of bacon or
Where are the memes? Give me
Yeah.
the memes.
can we get to the cat pictures?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing on dating apps too. Like if I see like,
I have
No
no
offense,
idea.
but
So
like-
please go on.
if I see like, a bunch of like gym pictures and CrossFit
Yes.
and things like that I'm like, ugh.
Not gonna
Or
work.
if like they're really big into like the outdoors, which means like camping and things
Camping,
like
yeah.
that. It's like I
Fishing.
don't like camping. I can go on hikes and stuff, but like camping and like sleeping outside all the time and all that, I just like,
You-
no.
You don't seem
I
like
mean,
a
they're better
fishing
people
guy.
than I am, but I just can't do it. You just know
Yeah.
it wouldn't work.
Outdoors to you is when your golf ball goes into the woods.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I mean, if I go camping, I want to go they call it glamping. So like I want to go to like a nice cabin that has like TVs and a pool table and a hot tub and things like that. And then I can look at the nature. So
Nice barbecue
but
grill.
yeah.
I wanted
It's
to have a
pretty sad. It's
Traeger.
like don't be healthy or active or I'm gonna swipe left on you. Because I'm such a catch. Sorry, ladies. This guy's off the market for you.
Cupcake
Homer
store
Simpson
owner.
over here.
Swipe right. Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna
I feel bad when I swipe left on somebody. Like, I'm like,
Oh, you own a
sometimes I like,
bakery. Okay.
sometimes I feel so bad. I'm by myself. I feel so bad that I'm like, sorry, nothing personal. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm
I just-
sorry.
I really don't know how to bait a hook, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to pass you on. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. And if
Find
they're
your
like,
Romeo.
if they're like a, you know, it just so happens that they happen to be like a minority or something, I like don't feel it. Like I swipe left and I was like, I'm so sorry. It's not anything bad. Like I just don't think our hobbies align and things like that. Like you like hiking. I'm sorry. Like I feel extra bad because it's like I swear I'm a cool white guy. I love everybody, but I can't do hiking or
can't
CrossFit, or
CrossFit.
gym stuff.
But if you would've
Gym's
had
good,
bake-
but like you know the people I'm talking about that like
yes. Yeah.
every day and like they have their own tripod set up for their mirror pictures and things.
Yeah. I understand.
This is nice. We should never talk about sports. We should just talk
Yeah.
about my dating apps and stuff.
Yeah. What else do you want to cover? Is that it? You just want to pack it up after that? Oh, go
so
ahead.
we've been kind of in and out for the last couple of weeks. I was in
Yeah.
LA for work.
Yes. So 2 weeks ago, I did a show by myself.
Correct.
A little brief.
Correct.
Last week, you were like, I am still not in the great state of Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Or able to do the show. And I was coming off of a throat, whatever. I thought it might be strep.
Oh, okay.
So I went to the on-campus clinic, and they did a strep test, and they were like, it didn't come back
Herpes.
positive.
Oh, okay.
But no, they were like, that's you.
Sorry.
They were
I'm
like,
projecting.
they were like, but we can give you the medicine, and I was like, sure, I'll take it. So I didn't
Did it
feel like
help?
yeah, it's helped. I didn't feel like doing a show last week because of that.
That's fair.
I was like, Brad's out. Apparently, we're on vacation, so
That's fair. We ended up going to one of those like we did like an after work thing, and we went to one of those like legit karaoke places where it's like in a Japanese part of town, like where all the Japanese businesses and things are and restaurants, and so it was like legitimate like professional karaoke, and essentially like you go inside and it's set up like a strip club, right? Like it looks like you're in a spaceship and there's separate private rooms for all your groups and things, and there's windows, and you're like, this was a strip club at some point, but it was like all karaoke rooms with couches and a bunch of seating, and they like keep the drinks flowing, obviously. And I ended up singing more karaoke than I've probably done in my entire life combined.
Okay.
And
yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen you do karaoke.
No, I mean, I don't do it often, but I don't know. It was a magical night in that Japanese karaoke.
Felt inspired.
Yeah, and like everybody was asking me to come up and sing their song with them and stuff. I think it was because of my stage presence. Like,
yeah,
I had to do a lot of like
hand motions.
Yeah, I had to like distract from the singing. So
Yeah.
like I try to be charismatic, and like I realized people took video and photos, which we agreed not to do, so I could sue them probably. But like when I reviewed the tape on the karaoke, I was doing a lot of pointing to the crowd, and I was like, every picture I was pointing at somebody, and I was like, I really thought I was like bringing it harder than just a finger point
You
from
thought
time to
the
time.
stage
I was like,
presence was
I was like putting the mic in people's faces and stuff, and
oh,
I was
crowd
just,
interactions.
when you're in the moment, like you're in the zone,
Yeah.
like when you get on the dance floor, for example, it's like
When me personally,
Mozart
or
creating a masterpiece, or
are you
Picasso
talking?
painting one of those beautiful paintings.
Are you talking about me personally getting on the dance floor, or
Yes,
just
that's
people in general?
you.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah,
You're the best dancer ever.
I don't know about ever, but these hips don't lie.
I would put you up against anybody.
Well, I appreciate that. What are friends for?
The neon lights on the sign just reminded me of my karaoke, my night of glory, and I need some new. I think I need some new moves. I don't know what those are going to be, but maybe you can teach me some.
We can work on that. We can workshop something. I stumbled upon what was that place called? It's over there on 71st and Memorial in the shopping center. It was on the corner. Baker's Pub?
Baker Street, yeah.
Baker Street, that's right.
R.I.P.,
Baker Street
yeah.
Pub. Yeah, RIP. Stumbled in there one night when it was karaoke. And it was like professional. It was very, I forget who I was with. I don't know if you were with me that time or not, but we were like, everybody was really good to the point that it was like, yeah, definitely not signing up and singing here.
Yeah.
I'll just sit back and like everybody was good. It was weird.
That's it's fun
like a
when like
random
one
Tuesday.
or two people are like randomly good.
Yeah.
But like everybody was good.
When they keep
And
going
like
up.
people that you wouldn't expect, like, I mean, just like unsuspecting characters, like an elderly man that just looked like he, comes there every Tuesday just to hang out. And he goes up there and he's a songbird. And it's like,
Yeah.
where
like
are all these
Sinatra.
people coming from? From
Yeah.
CrossFit probably, and hiking and being better than us.
Probably.
We got to get out more, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, good for you.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. I don't get out anymore. It's kind of pathetic.
Don't make me feel bad about my life. you know?
No. I mean, my wife, she's got a big birthday, milestone birthday. I won't say it because she's a female and you don't say their age, but
Yeah.
milestone birthday. And she was like, hey, let's go somewhere for my birthday. And now I'm taking PhD classes and all that. I was like, I don't know what my class schedule is going to look like, assignments and all of that. I don't want to be trying to have a great time knowing that I have like a huge assignment due on Sunday night. So I was like, you just go. So she's off to Nashville. She's going to go enjoy Nashville. I was like, go with friends. So she's going with friends from high school. She left tonight to fly out tomorrow morning, all of that.
That's so fun. I'm so jealous.
I am too, but I have an assignment due Sunday night. So that's
Do you think I'm invited?
You could probably show up. She wouldn't mind.
I mean, I'll head up there tomorrow. I don't care.
If you can get to Nashville, I mean.
And it's like a all-girl group?
Yeah. I think they're all married. I don't know.
Well, there's plenty of like bachelorette parties and stuff.
Yeah, you could always stumble upon, and you'd have 4 or 5 wing women.
Yeah. I mean,
Sarah might actually find you somebody better than me. I'm not a whole lot of help. Your other friends really aren't other help. They're of zero help.
Yeah, they're not. But like the trick with that is I look better by comparison, because it's like, look at these freaks next to me. I'm all right. I'm semi-normal.
Yeah.
No offense to my friends if you listen to this and you're supportive. And
looking at our numbers, I don't know if they do. So, like Alex. Hey, Alex. Good to see you. Thanks for joining.
It's good to see you.
When you see this 2 weeks from now. All right, let's jump into sports. You want to?
I guess.
I mean, why not?
I guess the fun's over. We have to talk business.
Conference realignment is back underway. Gonzaga is joining the Pac-12. Did you have that on your 2024 bingo card?
No.
I didn't either.
No, and it's just like, it's gotten to the point, this conference realignment has gotten to the point where any news that I hear, if you had told me 5 years ago that this was like breaking news, that I would have been like, well, that's obviously a joke and a parody. Like, I could not have connected the dots in a way to get where we actually are today. like, USC and the Big Ten and like just the wildest stuff. And now, like, I was reading an article about, UTEP's, they're honored to be joining the Pac-12 or whatever. And I'm just like, I bet you are, UTEP. You are very awful, and you're probably glad somebody wanted you. So, I mean, nothing surprises me anymore. But I'm kind of wondering, like, does it even matter anymore? Does it really even matter?
That leads into one of the points I was going to discuss was the SEC and the Big Ten eyeing a scheduling partnership. That comes off of the announcement back in, I believe it was February or so. I read it earlier. Anyways, back in March or February, they said, hey, we're going to have this committee and they're going to discuss things and all of that between the SEC and the Big Ten. The Joint Advisory Committee, which was formed back in February. Includes the presidents, chancellors, athletic directors, a group of those from both conferences. And what's come out of that so far is, hey, let's have a scheduling pact. I think that's the first step towards, hey, we're going to break away. We're going to have our own subdivision within college football, within Division I. That's basically the SEC, the Pac-12, or the Pac-12, the Big Ten, the SEC, and whoever else they want to invite. Clemson, Florida State, if they want to invite them, Miami, you get the gist. I think that's where we're headed. So I think in a sense, yes, it in the current time, it matters, but when we get to that point, it won't matter because I think that's when that other subdivision is gonna settle itself. So right now, I think it's more just jockeying for position, sort of. But like if you're UTEP, you're moving from Conference USA to the Mountain West. But it's a watered down Mountain West that's probably going to look a lot like the western part of Conference USA.
Right.
I mean, that's what
I said Pac. I know I said Pac-12 earlier, so excuse me for that.
Yeah.
Slip up. But that goes to show my point of like it might as well be the Pac-12 because like who the hell knows? But I think it's important too to at least for myself to remind myself that there's other things besides football too. Like this has an impact on basketball, baseball, whatever you want to say. And I think that's where it's going to show up more. But I mean, football, it's just going to be so top heavy now with these, Big Ten, SEC, right? Like that's basically the power conferences now. Big 12 is just kind of like hanging around on a fringe basis. ACC, like
you take away you take away 3 teams from the ACC, and the ACC and the Big 12 are basically the same.
Yeah.
I mean, you take away Florida State, Miami, and Clemson, and you basically have the Big 12. Yeah. It's kind of just it's a really good conference, especially in football. But outside of that, does it really matter? No. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's nobody. That's what I was listening to Sports Talk the other day, and they were like, well, with this SEC or the SEC and the Big Ten, and there's a discussion of, they could kind of go off and have their own conference or league or whatever. And it was, well, who in the Big 12 could potentially move up? And it was kind of crickets. It was like, maybe Utah. I'm like, even that doesn't make sense to me. I hit it on it 2 weeks ago, and even further back. I mean, back when we were in college, I was taking sport management classes, and one of the things, it was like, okay, project forward, look at where sports are, where college athletics is, blah, 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 blah. And one of the things I said back then was I could see a time when we have basically football become club sports. They're licensing the use of the logo for the university that they represent, and they would play in the stadium, but they would actually not be affiliated with the athletic department because then it takes them away from Title IX, and they could pay players and they could do all the things, but it would basically be minor league sports with the college logos on the side of the helmet so that there's still that connection. And we're moving there a little bit closer every day. Yeah, they're not club sports right now, but I think that's the only way they're going to get around Title IX aspects is if they move over here and say, hey, we'll pay the university, all of that, but we're our own separate entity and we're only paying the university for the licensing of the logo and to be able to use the stadium and whatever else.
Right.
I just think that's where it's heading, and we're starting to see more and more of it. And I'm teaching classes and sport management, and we talk about different things, and we were talking about antitrust and everything that goes into that this past week in the sports law class I teach. And some of the students are just like, how did we get here with NIL and with college athletics? And it goes back to 1985, and the University of Oklahoma and Georgia, they sued the NCAA for television rights, and it just kind of opened the floodgates of, hey, this is now a business. And it's just continued to move. The water has moved further and further down to where we're at the point we are. And as I told them, I said, we've moved away from college athletics being what the mission was. And it hasn't been there for a very long time. Because originally it was, hey, you want to go to the University of Oklahoma? That's great. Oh, by the way, we have athletics if you want to participate. Then it was like, we need to start recruiting athletes to be a part of our athletic teams that may just happen to want to go to a university like us. Now it's not even, there is no care about academics, right? Like, it's purely, how much can you pay me? Because I'll come in, I'll pay for that. If you don't pay me, I'll leave after 3 games if I don't get the payment. And we move on. And I think you kind of hit on it. I think we're moving away to where this doesn't matter. The Pac-12 will not matter. The Mountain West isn't going to matter because it's going to be in that second division. Will it be great football? Will we still watch it? Yes, it'll be a lot of fun. But it's not going to be in the big leagues of college athletics, or college football at least.
I would still love to see this across a number of sports in this country. I would like to introduce relegation, and that side of things too, because I think that could have a lot of play in, I mean, really any sport, but like talk about college athletics now, and it's like, okay, so SEC, Big Ten, they're kind of the top of the cream of the crop, right? Like those are the 2 main conferences now. And it's like, maybe in the future we could like set up some sort of like situation where Big 12, ACC, they're kind of like that tier 2. And like, you can work your way up to the SEC or the Big 10 or something like that. Like, that's what makes it interesting to me. I don't know, like if you're going to go completely professional with it, why not just go all the way and like that gives teams opportunities to play for their way up, there's something extra.
It's funny you mentioned that, because yesterday it came out that a group of executives and administrators that have been developing what has been, quote, the Super League, announced its proposal Tuesday, outlining a single national league dubbed the College Student Football League, CSFL. Details, which have been formulating for months, feature a football-only reorganization of the 136 football subdivision schools into 2 distinct conferences. The top 72 programs, mostly the current Power 5, would compete in the Power 12 conference, made up of a dozen 6-team geography-based divisions, basically the NFL in that sense. And then the remaining 64 programs, mostly the current Group of 5, would compete in the Group of 8 conference. A group of the top teams from the Group of 8 would be eligible for a promotion to play up against the Power 12 the following season, similar to the structure of European football leagues, but there would be no relegation among the Power 12 schools. So you would move 2 up every year, and then I guess those 2 would basically drop back down depending on how they played. I don't know. They're still working on
relegation, though.
I mean, I guess it would be, but it wouldn't. You wouldn't have relegation of the Power 12. So like Vanderbilt's going to stick in there. If they're in the Power 12, they get to stay no matter what.
Well, I mean, I understand why Vanderbilt would want that in, but like, well, I mean, just go all the way with it. Make it interesting.
Yeah, the advisory group is known as College Sports Tomorrow, a collection of industry leaders in business and sports. I know the Haslams, the owners of the Browns, are a part of that. Kirby Hocutt, the athletic director, here's the list. Kirby Hocutt, the Texas Tech director of athletics. Bubba Cunningham, former Tulsa AD, who's now at North Carolina. And Danny White of Tennessee, are supportive ambassadors, according to this report by The Athletic. West Virginia University President Gordon Gee, and then Syracuse University Chancellor Kent Siverid are also among those ambassadors. Grant Hill is one of the members as well. So, I think there is an opportunity there. I really don't know if there will be the relegation or not, or promotion, however you want to term. I don't know if that will actually happen. I think these schools are going to. I think the thing that's going to hold a lot of those back is the financial aspect.
Right.
I think those
I
Power
mean,
12
you have to guarantee them a bigger piece of the pie to even take that risk. Like a Vanderbilt, for example, you're going to have to say, we're going to pay you a lot of money, but you do have the risk of being, relegated.
Yeah. I think those big schools are going to financially say, yeah, we're in. We're going to pay our players. We're going to have, and I think you're going to see a lot of schools go, it's not worth it. We're fine with the current NIL model of we'll pay a little bit, or they can go get their name, image, likeness, and they can come here for 2 years and have 2 great seasons, and then they're off to an Alabama. Basically, what's already happening. You all go play for your own national championship. We'll play for our own. Because I think at this point, Tulsa would be better off with a subdivision where they can go compete for their own national championship. Like, hey, we'll go play for a national championship and we can actually compete, because right now they will never stand a chance. Even if they make the 12-team playoff, like a Boise State probably isn't going to make it out of the first round. I mean, maybe they will with Ashton Genty, but
yeah.
But
I think it's fun that you get the chance to see it, at least.
For most years, that's not going to happen. Like,
right.
You're only getting one team, your odds. Whereas if it was the other way around, if you're Tulsa and there's a 16-team playoff, you have a decent chance every single season, in theory, among the remaining groups of the Mountain West and the MAC and Sun Belt.
Well, I mean, are you just turning, not to attack our cheerleading friends and everything, but are we just turning into cheerleading where it's like everyone's a national champion because there's so many different divisions? There's like co-ed, 5-member and under division, and there's like 2 teams in the division. So if you beat the other team, you're the national champion of that. Is it going to be watered down so much that, like, I mean, who's going to care if Tulsa wins a national championship in the D7, league or whatever? Like, who's really going to care about that?
But I think, you look at North Dakota State, their fans are ravaged about their success at the FCS level. I look at what happened in Oklahoma high school football, 6A. They split the 2. And what happened? Bixby, all kinds of success. It built their program. They moved up to the next division, and they were able to rock and roll. Muskogee is now playing for state championships. Stillwater is playing for state champ in football. Like, those schools that would have never had a shot, except for maybe every 4th year, maybe, are now constantly competing, and and people there initially it was like, oh, we're just handing out participants. But now we're 10 years down the road, and after Bixby ran through it and started beating, it's like, all right, this is good. This is really enjoyable. These are 2 teams that are very similar, competing for a national champion or for a state championship. I think it would be the same thing. You had Boise State pre-moving to the Pac-12, but you have a Boise State going up against a MAC school or a Sun Belt school or whatever it might be. I think they're even. The playing field is even, and they're going up for a national championship. I think people would enjoy it and they would watch it, especially if it was in a tournament setting. I mean, there's people that watch FCS. I'm one of those sickos that does.
I don't know. It's interesting to think about. I think it could. I mean, it could go either way. I feel
Oh,
like. I mean, it
yes.
could be
Yeah.
successful. It could be interesting, but
Yeah.
like if if there's Alabama Georgia game on, are we going to watch Boise and Miami of Ohio? I mean, no.
No, not at all. Not at all. But I think the other side of that is now that you have the CW, you have TNT.
Can we have those teams playing a different part of the year, maybe, so we could have extended football?
Possibly. I mean, that may be part of what they decide to do. I mean, I think you look at the CW, you have TNT, you have like Turner has turned True TV into like a sports channel or trying to. I mean, there's just so many networks that are looking for coverage of games. I think there's an aspect of if they are able to say, hey, this is a top 25 matchup. Yeah, it's in the division right underneath the Alabama and OUs and the Big Ten. I think there may be some value there.
I mean, hey, let's pump up the spring ball. I mean, like
why not?
USFL does, and like let's just make spring football a thing, and then send those teams to the spring, and then I would watch them in the spring.
Yeah, no doubt. I don't know.
I mean, there's a lot of football to digest right now as is.
Yes.
And then you get into that, and it's like, oh my God, I don't know how I could keep track with every single like playoff bracket and things like that. But I mean, it's there's a lot of ways it could go. Hopefully, smart people are going to be in charge and make the decisions.
We are starting tomorrow. So we're recording this on October 2nd, Wednesday, October 2nd. Starting tomorrow begins 55 consecutive days of football. Tonight, the 2nd of October is the last day without a college football or NFL game until November 27th, 2024, the day before Thanksgiving. So strap in, my friend. We're on the football train
for
55 more days. And then you get a break that Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and then it starts all over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
It's great. I mean, it's great. And it's funny because those weeks leading up to the start of the football season where you're just craving football. You're like, please just start football. And it's like, but now you get to a point in the season where it's like, I don't care. I don't really care about MACtion this week, or, like there are games on television that I don't watch because I just don't want to. Even NFL games, it's like, these teams suck. I'm not going to watch this.
Yeah.
So like, if we could find a way to like spread out those games and like throughout the year when there's little football, I mean, I'd be more interested because it's like, well, that's what I've got, so let's just do it. But I mean, when you have this much football, it's like I'm not gonna watch that Tuesday night game or wherever Kennesaw State and whoever. It's just like I'm not gonna do it most likely.
Appalachian.
Yeah,
that's fair. All right, let's talk some teams that are in the state of Oklahoma. Oklahoma went to Auburn, and they somehow pulled out a victory. Michael Hawkins Jr., the starting quarterback for the Sooners, made some plays down the stretch, but it came down to what people are referring to as the Kip Six, with the pick six that gave the Sooners the lead late in that contest, and it was ugly. No doubt about it. Sooner Magic came out for sure. I don't know if you saw the Bomani Jones tweet, but he was like, SEC, welcome to Sooner Magic. It makes 0 sense, and it's annoying as F. And it's spot on. If I was not an OU fan, I would totally agree.
I think we're even a little bit annoyed by the Auburn game. I mean,
the offense did nothing until basically the fourth quarter, and then they figured out, hey, you know what? Maybe we try to throw something deep. I will say the offensive line looked better. It's probably the best the offensive line has looked. Some frustrating things that took place during that game, but all in all, you get a road win in the SEC, and now you have a week off.
It sound like a broken record. Like the top 5 receivers were not playing that game. I mean, there was no weapons to throw to, really. I mean, they were going to key in on the run from the beginning, And even the run game, it's like, your exciting young freshman Tatum, he's not even playing either. And it's like,
Yeah, he's out with
they just keep
concussion or whatever it is.
losing.
Yeah.
They keep losing weapons, and it's like,
Yep.
I'm in such a weird state of mind as an OU fan right now, because I feel like normally I would be annoyed and upset, but I mean, like Saturday when that happened, I was just like, well, hell yeah, we got to win. Like, let's get out of there. Let's take the win. And it's like I haven't seen the offense look this bad, and who knows how long? Early 2000. I mean,
John Blake.
Yeah, like who knows how long that we haven't had an offense that's like above average. And it's a very weird feeling, but I'm trying to accept it for what it is, because they're still able to go on the road at Auburn. And I mean, Auburn has 482 yards of total offense. OU has 291, right? Auburn has 26 first downs. OU has 11. And you think to yourself, well, Auburn won that football game, but no, they didn't.
Actually lost by 6.
A big thing is the turnovers, because OU had no turnovers. If there's one thing you can say about the offense is, hey, they're not turning the ball over, they're protecting it. Like they didn't put their defense in bad situations necessarily. I mean, they weren't. You'd like them to stay on the field a little bit longer, a little, kind of even that time of possession chart a little bit, but at least they weren't turning it over. And Auburn only had one turnover, and it was that pick 6. And it was like, that's how big those statistics are, because one play like that can change everything. And so it's like, I'm trying to factor in all of what's actually happening. I know that's hard for OU fans to like not be delusional, and like we're so used to having it so good, but like I don't think we have it very bad. Like I still think things are okay. If the offense ever comes around, we're going to be a really good football team. I believe that. I mean, the defense has played really well, out of their mind, honestly. I just keep telling myself, if OU had, Anderson and Anthony and all of their weapons at one time for one damn game, like who knows what they could look like. I mean, Hawkins is getting more comfortable. I think it was, I think we also have to give him some grace of like, he's a freshman coming in. He wasn't going to be the starter. He took over for a 5-star who was supposed to be the next savior at quarterback. And so he's got all that pressure on him, and he's still kind of learning the system and learning the college game and all that. Meanwhile, he's playing pretty well. He's more decisive than Arnold was, which I think is a big thing. I think Arnold got a little too in his head, and he was afraid to make those quick decisions at times, where I don't think he would wait and read through his progressions necessarily. I think he saw one thing wasn't working, so he would kind of try and, bring the ball down, escape the pocket, or whatever it may be. I just don't think he let the game come to him at any point. And Hawkins is doing the exact opposite. He's just like zone in on something, go, run, pass. Like he's not thinking as much, and it's benefiting him because he has that athletic ability to pull off one of those long runs for the touchdown at the beginning of the game, like he did against Auburn. But I don't know. It's interesting. And another like interesting statistic that I saw was that moved OU to 5-0 on the road against SEC teams. And that's the most wins without a loss by any team since 1936. And I know that they're now part of the conference, so that's going to change. But I thought that was just a fascinating statistic, because I feel like we've become so accustomed to, we haven't won a national championship in over 20 years now. And it's like, I think that kind of has a way of weighing on our minds of like, we haven't accomplished anything in a long time, which is a silly way to look at it, because not many teams have won national championships in that time. I mean, you're talking Alabamas and Georgias and Ohio States. Like they're the ones who have won a majority of that anyway. So I think the ship isn't as sinking as fast as people seem to think it is. I think it's like, let's just get healthy and see what we have. I mean, even the Tennessee game, yes, they got dominated, but I mean, it ended up being a 25-15 game.
Yeah,
And I mean, if that's what it's like to get dominated by one of the best teams in the country, then I mean that's pretty good. You have it pretty good.
mhm. I question Seth Luttrell, and I hate to do that because
I do too. Yeah.
he's an Oklahoma guy. He seems to be a really good guy, but I also have to look at Brent Venables and say, you're the head coach. You're a defensive mastermind. At some point, you've got to sit in Luttrell's office and figure out, hey, this is what makes it hard as a defensive coordinator when you do these things. That would be my question to BV. If I could give him truth serum, it'd be, hey, is this offense difficult for you as a coach? Are there aspects of what he calls in practices and scrimmages, in games even, that you're like, yeah, that's a tough combination. If he's
Mhm.
able to say yes, and it's just the players aren't performing, okay. But why aren't they performing? Why aren't, like, that's the next step in it. But I right now I do question the play calling. Is it truly difficult, or I mean, I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at. And we know that you go back to when Lincoln Riley got to OU, he struggled with running the ball. And it took Bob sitting down and going, hey, in these situations, in this scenario, like, we got to run the, like, working with Beatonbow to go, hey, here's how we can, out of this offense, implement a run game, or this. Like, how often did we see the guard tackle pull? Therefore, so, like, that's all TV analysts would be like, watch this tackle, or watch the pulling guard and the pulling tackle on this play. Like, it got almost, it was like a broken record every week. Oh, look at, this is so innovative. Oh, it's so amazing how they're able to do. But I think that came from Bob sitting down and going, what we're doing is not working. And I think Brent's got to do that. And maybe he is. We're not there, obviously. But I think that's where I start to question, okay, you hired Seth. That's great and all. But is he getting the job done? And I know that's a tough decision to make, but I think for going forward, that's a big thing you have to ask. Joe John Finley, like, the tackles have killed us, or the tight ends, pardon me, have killed us with just boneheaded stuff. Like, what are you doing? Um, and I think that's a coaching thing. I mean, it's obviously a coaching thing. You're obviously letting them get away with that during practice, or it wouldn't be part of what they do. So I think there's some of those things. It's basically the same coaching staff minus Luttrell and Emmett Jones, the wide receivers coach. Everybody else on the offensive side is exactly who was there with Lincoln. And I think there was a little bit of that from Brent, in the sense of, hey, I bring in Levy. It's a similar offense. Keep everybody else, and we'll be all right, because their offense was really good. And if they keep going, then we get the defense going, we'll be all right. And then Levy leaves, and now it does make me, and I'm going there. Cale Gundy. Like, you think about, after Lincoln left, Bob's the interim head coach who called the plays in that bowl game. It's Cale Gundy. It's one of the better called games we've seen. Like, yes, Lincoln is a mastermind offensively. It's hard to dispute that. But he got pretty repetitive with things, and, like, there was times that you're like, what is he doing? That bowl game, and I know it was a small sample size, one game against a team that wasn't totally interested, but it was a really well called game. And it makes me wonder, if Cale doesn't say the N word in a team meeting or a position meeting, he's still on staff. Would he be the OC right now, and would this be a totally different ball game?
Could be.
It's just one of those that I'm like, oh.
I mean, that's a consequence of your action.
Yes, totally.
You know?
No, yeah. I mean,
And I know that's not what you're saying, but like,
it's one of those things that I just think about, man, where would this be if he would have stayed on the staff and you move him over and you go hire somebody to be wide receivers coach or what? Now you get Emmett Jones.
I think there's a lot of opportunity out there to bring in the next Lincoln Riley or whatever offensive mastermind you want to compare them to. And I believe we are in this movement of the pressure and the onus of winning is going mostly back onto coaching because of what you're seeing like in the NFL with Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield and even to a lesser extent, guys like Bo Nix out in Denver. I mean, he's had some rough outings, don't get me wrong, but Sean Payton is forming that offense around him and trying to make him as successful as he can be right now in this stage of his career. But like Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, they're leading the league in touchdown passes right now. And they were like they were left for dead in Carolina not too long ago. And it's just because, man, like with Lamar Jackson found a great situation. They were like, Lamar Jackson is a freak. He's a superstar, but he plays a different way than a lot of coaches used to coach. And you just mold your offense around their talents. And I'm not seeing that with Seth Luttrell and Joe John. And like, I'm just not seeing that right now. And I'm trying to give him benefit of the doubt with the injuries and everything like that.
Yeah.
But I still think I don't see enough variety. Like it's so vanilla and I don't feel like they're really trying anything outside the box at any point. I mean, I'm seeing things that drive me crazy. And it's like, I would rather you just throw a triple option reverse pass and like try something right now. Like spice it up a little bit, guys. And I know I went over the turnover thing and how important that was, blah, 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 whatever. But I'm just saying that like add a little bit, like mold it to who's on the field. You don't have your top receivers. Okay, well, let's mold the offense into more of like a heavy run game with some different looks. And maybe we can add, two backfield and kind of throw off the defense that way of like, we can have a read option and then maybe like a little quick out to the other running back or, whatever it may be. It's like, I'm not seeing any of it. It's just vanilla. And it seems like they waved the white flag of like, we're just going to try and not mess up. Sorry. We're going to try and not mess up and let our defense win this game. And there's a little bit of that I get, but I mean, at some point you're going to have to step up and you can't go the whole year playing this way. Like if they continue this throughout the entire season, the offense looking like this, then I'm ready to cut the coordinators. I mean, go find a new coordinator. You know how many people would love up and coming coordinators would love a chance to coach at OU with that talent and that prestige and that history. Like there will be guys chomping at the bit to get that job.
I mean, look at Brennan Marion at UNLV. I mean, I know that the QB left and all that. He was a 47% passer this year. And they were still a high-flying offense. Like they found a way with a dude that was throwing for less than 50% completion percentage. Like that's what we're talking about. And there was one drive for OU. There was like three straight plays. I think it ended with the run. I want to say it was Sawchuk on the run off the left side, and I think it was Roberts that got called for the hold. But that was behind the play. Don't get me started on that. But that drive, there was like three consecutive plays that I was like, all right, Seth, there we go. But that's the first time all season that I've been like, all right, Seth, there we go. Like, to go back to Jackson Arnold real quick, I think the bowl game got in his head. He spent 8 months hearing people talk about, the turnovers. And I think it got in his head to the point that he was like, I can't turn the ball over. And it took him completely out of how he plays the game.
And that's also another aspect.
That's a
coaching. I mean, let's just pretend hypothetical world, fantasy land here. he has that bad game, but he's coming back next year, and let's say Lincoln Riley is his coordinator. You don't think Lincoln Riley would have made it a point to make sure Jackson Arnold feels empowered and like he can, take those chances? He's going to design plays to put him in comfortable positions, right, and maximize his talents. And it's like there's no adjustments in this offense, and that's what's been driving me crazy. It's like they have nothing. Like, what are they doing at practice? What are they doing in film study? Like, well, here's the same playbook again. It's not working still. Maybe it'll work next week. Let's get out of here, guys. Thanks. Like, I don't know what's going on there. Show me something.
Yep, I agree.
They should be thankful that Hawkins has came in and played as well as he could, because it could be so much worse.
Yes. Yeah. There's rumors out there that Graham Harrell, who was just fired by Purdue, may be hired by OU as a offensive analyst. So that'll be interesting. I mean, yeah, it didn't work at Purdue, but you look at where he coached under Luttrell. He was the offensive coordinator under Luttrell at North Texas from 2016 to 2018. Left there to become the USC offensive coordinator, then over to West Virginia for a year, and then he's been at Purdue the last 2 years until he was fired 3 games in this season.
And a quick shout out to another coach that usually gets a lot of shit, but we talk about coaches adjusting and molding to their talent. How about Cliff Kingsbury and Washington Commanders and what they're pulling off so far this season? I mean, he's got Jaden Daniels in their rookie quarterback, and they went I don't know how many games, 2 or 3 games without punting once. And Jaden Daniels looks so good winning football games. And Cliff Kingsbury, typically a guy that's kind of a scapegoat at times, like he's the offensive coordinator there. It's just, it goes to my point. It just goes to my point.
Yep, I agree. Real quick, let's talk Oklahoma State. I think it's a lot of the same thing, right? I mean, quarterback play has not been good. They haven't been able to get the run game going. I think that's a lot of Casey Dunn issues. Mike doesn't want to go to the freshman quarterback because he just doesn't believe that young guys can play, apparently. And I don't know what's going to change for the Cowboys unless they make a change at quarterback and try something different.
It's bad. I mean, it's bad. I feel bad for OK State fans, honestly, because I watched that team, and it's so frustrating for me, a bit of an outsider. Like I watch Alan Bowman play, and he feels like those like backup quarterbacks in the NFL, right? That are like, yeah, they can like come in and throw a few passes and like maintain the game for a little while, but they're never going to be a starting quarterback full time. Like, I mean, you look at guys like Gardner Minshew and things like that. It's like
they're fine for 2 to 3 games.
Yeah, I mean, people are going to figure him out eventually. Like he's not going to like fool defenses for very long. Yeah. He can come in and take care of the ball and like do those minute things, but like at Oklahoma State, that's not what they need. They need someone who can make plays, and especially with, Ollie Gordon hasn't had very much success this year. No. This last game, like the first half, it was his best game so far of the year, and then it just completely shifted. I stopped watching that game when Oklahoma State had a lead, and then they end up getting beat by 20-plus points. I'm like, what the hell is happening? Like, I don't know. Like, doesn't seem like these offenses go into sort of like trances throughout the game. Like OU does this too, where it's just like they're zombies, and it's like, wake up, hello, like trying to do something else here. And like Alan Bowman, I mean, my God, he'll be throwing out routes, and it'll be like 5 yards out of bounds, and it's just like, why do you keep throwing the out routes? Stop doing that. Like, try something else.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think they've been spoiled in the past with guys, like Zach Robinson and Brandon Whedon. And I think those guys were what they think Alan Bowman was going to be this year in his 15th year in college. I think they're like he's finally going to turn into that Mason Rudolph type where he can hit those deep balls when we need him, and all this, and it's just not working out because he's not that guy.
Yeah, no, it's got to be frustrating. I'm on a text thread with 3 Oklahoma State fans, and each weekend it's like they're like, okay, Casey Dunn, here we go again, here we go, Bowman again. I mentioned Cale Gundy. It'll be interesting. Does Mike call upon his brother midseason? Like, hey, I need you to stop slinging drinks at Roosters and come coach the offense and call plays for at least the end of the season.
I feel like OK State has the worst 3 and outs I've ever seen in my life. Like there's 3 and outs are bad enough as is, but Oklahoma State's 3 and outs are like a thing of pure artistry. It's so bad. And like you can feel the crowd in Stillwater deflated with every single 3 and out that they have. Like I was talking about the out route that Alan Bowman would miss completely on. And like I can literally hear the crowd's just anguish and pain through the TV. And it's just I don't know, like they pushed it too much in the first few games where it's like they played with fire too much, right? Like they got lucky against Arkansas, let's be honest. They should had no business winning that game or even being in that game, but they came back and won. And like you can't maintain that type of pace because you're going to get blown out by better teams, and that's what happened.
Yeah, both teams are gonna have to figure out something quick. Bye weeks this week, so hopefully they can get things corrected and get going here soon. Or actually, sorry, West Virginia for Oklahoma State. I got that. I forgot they are hosting West Virginia, so tough game there for them. All right, let's move on. Week 4 over in the NFL. Thoughts?
I think it's been a really entertaining start to the season so far. I've really enjoyed it. There's a lot of good stories, a lot of unexpected things happening. I mean, I mentioned the Washington Commanders and their hot start, and I think that's a really cool story. And I think what's going on in New York with the Jets is interesting. They just got beat by the Broncos, and they haven't really looked right all year, and it makes you wonder about Aaron Rodgers' window. Is it closing by the minute, or will they turn it around type of thing? Because, I mean, we all understood that they had a really good defense the whole time. They just didn't have a quarterback. They had Zach Wilson, and they didn't have a quarterback that could get them over the hump. Well, now it's like you have a Hall of Fame quarterback, a 3-time MVP? I can't remember. Multi-time MVP. And, yes, he's old and in his 40s now, but, like, he's still – I mean, old Aaron Rodgers is still much better than Zach Wilson. Everybody knows that. But, like, results aren't really changing that much as of now. I mean, it's a long season. It can be turned around. But that's a storyline that I'm watching. And then, I mean, there's been some unfortunate injuries. I think I'm so glad I didn't have the first pick in fantasy this year because CMC's injury has been mind-boggling. It's like it seems to get worse by the day. Now it's in both of his legs. Like, he's got the Achilles injury, and it's like affecting both of his legs now. And it's like that type of thing is always a shame. But I'm enjoying the Cleveland Browns' descent into madness even more and more by the week. That's my favorite part. When do they go to Jameis Winston? That's going to be a fascinating storyline to watch.
Got to be soon.
I think it's coming soon.
Yeah,
because I mean. They are the Cleveland Browns are 1-3 right now, right? And they haven't looked good. They're 27th in the league in scoring, right? They have 16.5 points a game, and Deshaun Watson looks awful. So it's like, when do they pull that trigger? Because they should be. I mean, the past few years, it's like they've been a well-rounded team, a solid team. A threat, really, and now they just don't look good at all. So I think they play the Commanders this week. So could they move to 1-4? Like 1-4 start, you got to go to Jameis, right? Like at what point do they pull
Yeah.
that trigger?
Yep.
So I mean, I've been entertained. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, it's been an interesting start to the NFL season. I've enjoyed all the different aspects. To only have two teams that are 4-0 undefeated, and one of them is the Minnesota Vikings with Sam
Mhm.
Darnold. I mean, that's you. You and I were texting earlier today, and that draft class for being written off, all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, maybe there's something there, and you could have some really great players that are going to continue playing
I
for
mean,
a while. And I mean,
as of the season, they probably have what, 4 of the top 10 quarterbacks in the league from that draft class?
yeah,
I think that's
potentially,
safe to say at this point in the season.
yeah, and the my question is if you're the Vikings, what do you do at the end of the year if this continues on? I mean, yeah, you're gonna rack up a loss or two or some losses at some point. But if Darnold is playing the way he is right now later on, yeah, you just drafted JJ McCarthy, but do you go to the rookie? I think you have to hang on to Darnold
I think you do too. I mean, here's the thing. It's like I think you bring Darnold back, and then next year you see how Darnold if Darnold maintains his play that he
because
has
he's
this
only
year,
what?
season,
He's
it,
like 26 years old,
yeah. I mean, it's a
27.
completely like if he plays anything like he's playing now, it's a win. And at worst case scenario, you can just let JJ McCarthy sit behind him and develop. Like that's still a thing that can actually happen in this league. Is like guys can sit behind a quarterback for a year or 2 or 3 and develop. And I understand that there's going to be extra pressure during the down times and everything like that, but I don't know why you would force McCarthy in there, especially after his season-ending injury. It's like let him take his time, let him recover, let him rehab, let him study film, come back next year, get some reps in the preseason, and like see where you are at that point. But I can't imagine going away from Darnold at this point. I mean, long season, Darnold could end up
Yeah,
tanking. I mean, he has done that in the past, but right now they look like a very, very good team. And I don't know why you would mess with that, especially with where they were, because it was like they didn't want to pay Kirk Cousins, which was the right decision.
yeah.
And it was, there wasn't really a lot available via free agency to have that role filled. So they took a chance with Darnold. I think they were hoping it would be like a Baker Mayfield situation. I really do. And
Hmm.
it turns out that it's kind of turning into that, which is great. And I just like there's no reason to go away from Darnold at this point.
Yeah.
If they lose 10 straight games, and yeah, okay, well, let's talk about McCarthy next year. But I think it's a good problem to have. I mean, you have a guy that you like. I mean, whatever your opinion is about JJ McCarthy, I know that organization likes him. They wouldn't have drafted
Hmm.
him if they didn't like what he had to offer. So it's always good to have an insurance at the quarterback position. I mean, we've seen how important that is.
It's interesting to me as well. You look at Sam Darnold, you look at Baker Mayfield, two guys, like you mentioned earlier in the show, spent time with the Panthers, were left for dead, basically. Sam goes to the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan, who's been known to be able to develop and work with quarterbacks, an offensive mastermind. Baker, yes, it was a short stint, half a season, goes to Sean McVay, another mastermind offensive coordinator. I wonder how much spending time with those two guys for those two respective players kind of gave them maybe a new way of looking at playing the position, reading defenses, all of that. But then they went to two good situations as well. I mean,
Well, and look at
Canales with the Bucks, and now it's Liam Cohen as the offensive coordinator,
and
who
where did
Baker had
Liam
worked
Cohen
with.
come from?
Yeah, he worked at the
What tree did he
Rams.
come from?
Yeah, it was McVay and
Yeah.
where Baker had worked. And then you look at Kevin O'Connell with the Vikings, and now Sam and Darnold. Where did Kevin O'Connell come from? I mean, it's just I think there's a lot of that. It goes back to what we were talking. Coaching matters. Coaching matters, and I think
How about
those
Geno
guys.
Smith in Seattle?
Yes, I mean, and I think there is an aspect of having the reps, having the like. You go back. Brad Johnson, Rich Gannon. I mean, you can go down a list of guys that just seem to stay in the league for a while and then all of a sudden got their opportunity for whatever reason, and they had success with a good offensive coordinator, head coach, and John Gruden for both of those for the most part. But, like, I think there is something to, hey, I'm able to see what's going on. Joe Flacco. Like, my Colts may, who knows what Anthony, but right now, Joe Flacco seems to be your best option with that offense and that team. Like, I'm like, yeah, Anthony Rich, he can't stay healthy. Let's let him sit there and watch this old man go out there and sling the football around. And if it works, let's go with it. But we saw it with the Browns last year. It's crazy to me that the Browns didn't even try to sign him, didn't try to even offer him. Like, hey, you can be our backup. Instead, they were like, hey, thanks, appreciate it. You got us to the playoffs. Enjoy free agency.
Well, I think that's what they do with quarterbacks who get.
Well, yeah,
them
that
to the playoffs.
explains a lot for the Browns. I mean,
Yeah.
it checks out. It definitely checks out. All right, we are running up. We're past an hour now. Let's move on to our against the spread. Brad, last week you went 1-2. You are now 7-6-1, 54% correct this season. I went 2-1 last week. Thanks a lot, GJ Kinney. And I am 8-7 on the year, 57% correct through 14 games. And with that, Brad, I will let you go first, my friend, as you are coming off your vacation, a rough week, and your picks. Thanks a lot, OSU and Michigan, on your behalf. So where do you go this week? What are your 3 games?
Yeah, thank you. I can't. I'm staying away from college again this weekend. Like, I can't get a grasp on college this season for some reason. So I'm gonna step away for another week. I'm going with 3 NFL picks for my against the spread bets. Let's start off with the Denver Broncos versus the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm taking the under 35.5 in that game. A lot of different factors play into that. Denver is 3rd in the league in points against. They're giving up 13.8 points per game. Denver's offense is not scoring very many points either. It's definitely a work in progress. So I think it's going to be, again, a bit of a struggle. The game's at Mile High. There's no Devontae Adams for the Raiders. I think that's going to be a big distraction until they get him dealt. And so I just see that game playing into like one of those ugly muck-em-up games. Not a lot of points scored. I could see like a 20-13 type of score, 2014, something like that. So I'm taking under 35.5 in that game. Let's move on to the I mentioned this game earlier. I'm taking the Commanders -3 versus the Cleveland Browns. Commanders have been surprised the league so far this year, outside of the Vikings. They're ranking 3rd in rush yards so far on the year. They've got just under 170 per game, 169.3 to be exact. But their defense is giving up a lot of points, so that is a concern. But I'm not as concerned with how Cleveland Browns offense has been looking. So I was able to kind of move past that personal statistic there that kind of threw me off for a bit. But the Browns' only win this year was against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Jags are 0-4 right now. They're struggling themselves. 27th in points scored of the Browns. They're only putting up 16.5 points per game. Deshaun Watson is a shell of who he used to be. They still don't have Nick Chubb back. Amari Cooper's been dropping balls this season. It just looks off in Cleveland, and the Commanders have been putting points like wildfire. So I'm gonna ride the hot team, and I'm gonna take the Commanders -3 in that one. And then finally, something that always bites me in the butt, if I bet for them or if I bet against them, I'm taking the Chiefs game. They always find a way. I'm telling you, they always find a way to screw me. But we're going to take the Saints +5 at Kansas City. Now, The Saints started off very hot. They were scoring lots of points. They were blowing teams out. They've kind of come back down to earth a little bit, but they do lead the league in scoring, 31 points a game. Their defense is playing well. I think they're sixth in the league. And a big development last week for the Chiefs, Rashee Rice. They fear it could be an ACL injury. He could be out for the year. They don't know for sure yet. But they've already announced that he's not going to be playing this game. I think that's going to be a bigger impact than a lot of people realize, because I feel Rashee Rice was really he seemed to settle into Mahomes' like favorite target at this point. I do think Travis Kelce is being a little bit like saved for the stretch run in the postseason. I know that Travis Kelce will come to play when they need him. I just think they're kind of conserving him right now. But at this point, Chiefs have always been, as great as they are, they've always been a vulnerable against the spread team the past few seasons. This year they're 2-2 against the spread. I think that 5 points is a lot of points for the Saints, who have looked pretty good, honestly. And I don't get that line at all. So, long story short, Saints +5 at the Chiefs.
All right. I like that Commanders
Thank
-3 versus the Browns. That does stand out among those 3 picks. So, real quick recap your 3 picks, real fast for the listeners and the viewers on the old TikToks.
The TikToks, yeah. So I'm taking Denver Broncos, Las Vegas Raiders under 35.5. I didn't mention this earlier, but Denver's only gone over 35 total points once this season. So that's another aspect that's playing into that game. There's just too many things going on with that from right. Second game, I'm taking the Commanders -3 versus the Browns. And then finally, I'm taking Saints +5 at the Kansas City Chiefs.
All right. Those are Brad's against the spread picks. All right. Time for mine. I'll move fairly quick. I'm going to go Friday night. I like UNLV on the road at Syracuse -6.5. Give me the running Rebels in that one. I think they showed that offense, really whoever is at quarterback, is able to make that thing move. So give me UNLV. Or actually, that's not at Syracuse. They are hosting. Pardon me. They are hosting Syracuse. So I think that's an added advantage as well. Give me, as we move to Saturday games, I like Clemson -14.5 at Florida State. I think the way the Clemson offense has been playing in the last couple of weeks, and I don't know if you've noticed, Florida State not very good. I think they have made a quarterback change, but still not very good. So give me the Tigers. And then I'll close it out. I like USC -8 at Minnesota. I just feel like it's PJ Fleck. Yes, they almost beat Michigan. Probably should have if the officials don't make the call that they did on the offsides, on the onside kick. But I think this USC team, Miller Moss, looks pretty good. Pretty good. Just saying. So my picks: UNLV -6.5, Clemson -14.5, and USC -8 for week. What is this? 7, 6, 7, 8? I don't know. We've done 3 picks each week. I don't know.
Should be week 6.
Week 6, yeah, week 6. All right, there they are. Anything else, Brad?
No.
I think we
I've
covered
already
it
gone
all.
over my dating life, karaoke abilities, food
Cupcakes.
preferences,
Yeah.
lack of gym time, my swiping tendencies on dating apps, Deshaun Watson hatred, OU offensive play calling, befuddlement. No, I think I covered everything.
Okay. I should mention you can always follow us. This is how I end every show. I don't know if you noticed.
Yeah, I'm here for the show usually. I'm still paying attention.
Yeah,
The
well,
audience
good.
might not be.
Yeah, probably not. We're like, minute and 50, or an hour 15 in. Twitter @GameOnGuys, Facebook Game On Pod, You can email us, email gameon@gmail.com, TikTok, gameonpod, website, gameonpod.com, and Instagram/threads, gameon.pod. We don't post as much as Evan on threads, but
I
we
honestly
should
like
try to get him on for basketball season.
I admire the commitment. Like, if you're
Yeah.
gonna do it, you might
He's
as well
all in.
do it right, type of thing.
Yeah. My wife said
Consistency is the most important thing, which we don't have on this show
yeah, that's part of the
because we're
problem.
both very busy. But like, if we had the time, we would be way more consistent, and I think that's important. And I think he's found his place on Threads, and I'm happy for it.
Yes. Sarah was like, you guys need to get more followers. You need to get, like, if you're going to do this. And I'm like, we don't care. We're just kind of doing this to do it.
Yeah. At this point, it's just kind of like a fun thing for us. And
Just it's an
at some
outlet.
point, like if we get
Maybe.
more time, I think we would put more,
It's an
resources into it. And I mean, last year alone, like we weren't really putting that much effort in last year either, but like we had a couple TikTok videos that did some number. I mean, our best slam dunk videos did over 30,000 views and had so many interactions and things like that.
That was 2 years ago, actually.
Shut up.
Yeah, it was 2 years ago. Last year, we just posted pics on TikTok. We didn't actually do a podcast.
Well, there you go. That proves my point of we don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Maybe someday I'd like to.
If she could just be my sugar mama and not make me, if I didn't have to work.
Yeah.
Sarah.
It's really Sarah's fault. Now she's in Nashville. Just living it up.
See, she's just gallivanting around. I mean,
she's going to get into CrossFit. I feel it. You lost her.
All right. Well, I've lost myself tonight. I'm going to go dig through the pantry. Hope you do the same. This has been Game On. I'm Steve. That's Brad. Catch us next week.
Bye.
Bye.